What's going on, guys? John Elder here from Codeby.com, and in this video, we're going to look at the Jinja templating language for Flask and Python. All right, guys, like I said, in this video, we're going to look at Jinja. But before we get started, if you like this video and want to see more like it, be sure to smash the like button below, subscribe to that channel, give me a thumbs up for the YouTube algorithm, and check out Codeby.com, where I have dozens of courses with hundreds of videos that teach you to code. Use coupon code YouTube1 to get $30 off membership with all my courses, videos, and books for one-time fee at just $49, which is insanely cheap. All right, it is Flask Friday again here in Vegas. Flask Friday, the happiest time of the week. And in this video, we're going to look at Jinja2. Now, Jinja2 is a templating language. It allows us to do very Pythonic type things on our web pages. So one of the great reasons for using a framework like Django or Flask is you can use sort of Python on your web page. And normally you can't do something like that. So it makes the whole world of Python available on a website, almost. And that's really cool. I say almost, it's not exactly, you can't exactly use Python on your web page. But the templating language lets you use most of the main things that you would want to do. Things like using variables, using if statements for logic, loops, and things like that. There's some special things that you can do to capitalize things and lowercase things. And we'll look at all those things in this video. So if you're familiar with Django, you're probably familiar with the Django templating language. Jinja2 is very, very similar, but a little bit more powerful, in my opinion. So that's what we're going to look at in this video. Now, if we head over to our terminal, as you see, I've got the server running from the last video. We can pip freeze. And when we installed Flask, we also installed Jinja2 automatically. It comes with Flask. So there's nothing for us to install. There's nothing for us to import. Let me just run my server again here so that it's going. It should just work. So if we head back over here very quickly, I just want to go to Google, type in Jinja2. If you're curious, you can go to the Jinja website. It's jinja.paletsprojects.com/some stuff. And this is the documentation. You can see it's a modern designer-friendly templating language for Python, modeled after Django's templates, but I think a little bit better. So you can see right off the bat, you can do things like for loops. You can use blocks and things. And you can come through here and read all about it if you want. We're going to dig into this in the videos today and going forward, so we don't have to actually read through this. But if you're interested, you can check that out. So, okay, let's head back over to our code. And if you remember in the last video, we set up this user page here that sort of pulls a name from the URL, passes it into the function, and then puts it on the screen using this format thing. And this worked fine for this little example, but normally we're not going to return HTML in the function here. We're going to use a template like we did with our index template right there. See? So how do we do this, but with a template? Well, Jinja will allow us to do that. So let's just go ahead and come up to our templates directory, right click, and create a new file. And then let's go File, Save As, and let's save this as user.html. And you can see, boom, it pops right up there. Now we come back to our hello.py file, and we can come down here. Let's go ahead and change this, and let's use the same formatting we did here. So I'm just gonna sort of paste this in here. Okay, but instead of pointing this to index.html, we want to point this to user.html. And save this, come back here to our user thing. There's nothing in here, so let's put a quick H1, and let's go hello, and then name. So if we save this and run it, we can go user/John like we did before, and it says hello name here. It doesn't say hello John. So how do we get this John from right here? And in fact, let me take this and go lowercase just for fun. How do we pass this John into the page using Jinja? Well, it's very, very easy. Head back over here. And all we have to do is pass in that variable. So I can go name equals name, right? So this name is coming from right here, right? Which is getting passed from right here. So if this is confusing, name equals name, we can change this to username if you want, equals name. Now this we can access on our template page. So I can copy this, head over here to our user, and instead of name here, we can use our Jinja tags, which are double curly brackets, and I can just paste in username. Now, if we save this and reload our page, now it says hello John. And you'll notice it's lowercase, but up here we passed it as lowercase. If we passed it as uppercase, boom, it would be uppercase. So that's how you use variables with Jinja. Very, very easy. I'm going to change this back to lowercase. Like I said, there's some little sort of tricky, magic-y things you can do with Jinja with things like variables, and we call those filters. And there's just a whole bunch of filters. I'm just going to mention a couple of them here. And we can use filters by adding a bar and then just saying the filter. So if we're passing a lowercase, I might want to convert this to uppercase. So I just pass upper. So if we save this, come back over here and see now it's lowercase in the URL. It's lowercase on the page. But now when I hit reload, boom, everything is uppercase. We've converted everything to upper. Now that's probably not what we want. We just want the first letter upper. So instead of declaring everything up or upper, we can capitalize. So if we save this and reload, boom, now there's John. So very, very cool. Likewise, we can lowercase all of them. So if I change this in the URL to an uppercase John, and then we come back over to here to our code, we can lower this, right? Save this, reload. Now it changes it to lower. And there's several more of these. We'll go over them in just a minute. So let's head back over to our code. And instead of playing around on this page, let's head back to our main page. And here's our index function here. Now in this example, we use something from the URL, but you don't have to. You can just make a list of anything. So I can just call first underscore name, set that equal to John. And now I can pass that into our index page by calling first name equals first underscore name. So this is this, which is John. And we can access that on our web page by accessing this variable right here. So if we come back to our index.html page and it says, hello world, this is my first page. Isn't this cool? I can say my name is, and then use our double curly brackets, paste in first name. Let's close our P tag just for fun. There we go. We can come back now to the main homepage and it should say, my name is John. And it's just that easy. Now, what can we pass in like that onto our webpage? We can pass in variables. We can pass in Python lists. We can pass in dictionaries. We can pass in objects. We can pass in just about anything you can think of. And that is really, really cool and really powerful. Now, I mentioned there were some other filters we can talk about. Let me just paste a quick list here and we can look at them because they're kind of interesting. And they very quickly give you a lot of power over everything. So here, let me just create a comment here and let's go like that. And so here are the main ones I want to talk about. Safe, capitalize, lower, upper. We've already looked at these three. Title, trim, strip tags, and safe. So let's just look at all these. What is this safe one? Well, let's say you want to pass in some HTML into your web page. Well, that can be a little tricky because hackers can use that to put some weird code in, to inject some code. But if you know it's you doing it and it's not somebody else, you may want to pass HTML. And in those circumstances, Flask and Jinja will strip out that HTML by default as a security measure. So to get it to not do that, we use the safe tag. So let's create some stuff here. I'm just going to call this stuff. And then let's say this is bold text. And we want this to be bold. So we use a strong HTML tag. Right? So if we just pass stuff in, and by the way, if you want to do more than one variable, see we've already got one here. In fact, let's put this on another line just to make this a little easier to read. We could just slap a comma in and do another one. So stuff equals stuff. So here, let's save this, head back over to our index page, and let's put a P tag, and let's just pass in our stuff. All right, so if we save this, head back over here, reload. Uh-oh, we get an error about my little comments there. So let's come back here. And instead of these, let's do this. For some reason that was causing a problem. Okay, so now let's come back here, reload, boom. So now we see this is bold and these two HTML tags have been passed through. Well, that's not what we want. We want this to actually render the HTML and make this actually bold, make it strong text. Well, we can use the safe tag for that. So we come back over here, come back to our index page. And to do that, we just use a filter like we do with the bar and then just pass safe. So if we save this and reload, we see now, boom, this is bold text and the text is actually bold, right? It's very, very cool and very easy. Now, what's the difference between that and strip tags? Well, let's see. Let's go ahead and come back over here. And instead of safe, let's try strip tags. Now what this will do is just what it sounds like. It will strip any HTML tags completely out. It won't ignore them, it will remove them. So if we save this and hit reload, our bold text goes away, but you'll notice the actual strong tags that were around that bold are completely removed. And how is that different from not doing anything? Well, if we just don't do anything, if you remember, those strong tags will come through and they'll be printed on the screen, and we probably don't want that. So there you go. So why is that useful? Well, let's say you have a message board or a commenting system on your blog and people are trying to pass HTML. Well, you may not want them to be able to pass HTML because, like I said, hackers can use that to inject code that takes over your web server and stuff. So you may want to strip out those tags that people try to use. You would use that strip tags filter. So very, very cool. Let's see, what else do we got here? There's a couple more, and let's change this to get rid of this. And let me make all of these things lowercase. So this is bold text, this is capitalized, the rest of these things are lowercase. We can use the, let's see, what else? The title filter. What this will do is capitalize every first letter in every word. So let's give that one a try real quick. So we just boom, boom, save this, reload. Now notice the first word of everything is capitalized. That's kind of fun. And that's pretty much it. The other one that I have listed is trim. This will remove trailing spaces from the end, right? Which is not really, there's no real way to see that. So if you had a bunch of spaces at the end, it would remove those spaces, but you really wouldn't be able to tell that in HTML, but it still nonetheless is a little bit useful. So those are filters. Let me just comment filters, right? And very, very cool. So what else can we do with Jinja? Well, we're passing a variable here. Let's go ahead and pass a Python list. So favorite underscore pizza. And this is a Python list. And we could go pepperoni and maybe cheese and maybe mushrooms. And we can use a word and we can use numbers, 41. 41's not really a favorite pizza, but we could pass numbers in nonetheless. And that's very cool. So again, to pass this into our web page using Jinja, we just, in our render template function here, we just slap another comma, paste it in, favorite pizza equals favorite pizza. Now this is sort of a convention using the same words. You know, down here, I used username and name just to sort of show you that they're different. But in reality, most of the times I find myself using the same words. So favorite pizza equals favorite pizza because it's easier to understand. And we know that this is the thing we access on the web page. This is the actual variable that is right here that holds the stuff, right? So now we can access this favorite pizza. Come over here, let's head over to our index page. And below here, we can add our tags and we can just paste it out. Now this is probably not what you want to do, but you can. And if we save this and reload, you can see that it just prints out the entire Python list, which is probably not what you want, right? So Jinja actually allows us to do logic and loops. So we could do an if statement, we could do a for loop, we could do any kind of loop. What we really probably want to do is loop through this and just print out each of these items on the screen. And we can do that with Jinja really easily. So instead of just printing out this whole thing, let's create an H3 tag and say favorite pizza. And then underneath here, we can use a for loop. And to do that with Jinja, we use these brackets like this. And we just go, let's say for topping in, and then we reference this thing. So we can get rid of that. And then at the end here, we always have to close our thing. So we're using a for loop. So we type in end for. If we were doing an if statement, we would go end if, right? But we're not using a for loop. So now here, what do we want to do? Well, let's just use our double brackets and paste in top and print out topping. Now you'll notice the difference between these and these. So the double curly brackets are usually used for variables, right? Mostly just variables. These are used for logic and for loops, if statements, things like that. So when you're doing like functional things, you use these. When you're just spitting out variables or lists or dictionaries or whatever data, use the double brackets. So, okay, we can do that. And let's put these on a separate line. We can save this, head back over here, reload, boom, favorite pizza, pepperoni, cheese, mushroom, and 41, right? So very, very cool. Now we can also call an individual item from a list like you would any other Python list, right? So let's again paste this in. And let's say we want the very first item in the list. Well, that's the 0th item. Remember, Python lists start at 0. So if we head back over here and look, pepperoni is the 0th item, cheese is the first item, mushroom is the second item, and 41 is the third item. So 0, 1, 2, 3. So if we want to access pepperoni, that's the 0th item. Cheese is the first item, right? Just like in Python land. So we can do that by calling .0. So if we save this, come back over here and hit reload, we see, boom, pepperoni pops up. We can change it to, like I said, the second item, which is 1, which is, I think, cheese. Save this, hit reload, boom, cheese. So let's see, what was that's third one, that's 41, right? So if we save this and reload, boom, it says 41. 41's a number, not really a string, so can we do number things? We go plus 10. Save this, come back over here, reload, boom, 51. We can do Python. We can do things like we can do math. We can do other Python-y things right in there, right? So very, very cool. If we change this to pepperoni plus 10, that's not really going to work because it's a string and a number, but it will, well, throw an error, right? So this is an integer, not a string. So obviously that would throw an error. So very, very cool and very fun and just that easy. So those are for loops. We could also use if statements. So inside of our for loop, let's create another one of these guys. And let me just copy this. And this is going to be an end. This is going to be an if statement. So I know to end if. I always like to do that right at the beginning so I don't forget. So we can say if topping equals 41, then we can print out topping plus 100. Else, just print out topping. There you go. And we probably need a line break here. Okay, so let me put this down there so we can see. So we're going to loop through here, and every time we do, we're going to say this if statement. If the topping equals 41, add 100 to it, else just print out the topping. So this should print out our list of toppings plus 141 instead of 41. So if we save this and run it, or reload it, I should say, boom, pepperoni, cheese, mushrooms, 141. Very, very cool. So that's Jinja in a nutshell. There's so much more you can do with Jinja. And as we move on throughout this playlist, Flask Fridays, we're going to get into it in more detail. But this is a pretty good sort of jump start on it. And if we head back over here, remember there's filters. You can head over to the Jinja website and really look for all the filters. But these are the sort of the big ones. In fact, if we went back over to the Jinja website, Jinja2. I just Google it usually because I can't ever remember the actual website. And if we search for filters, custom filters, you can create your own filters. We'll probably talk about that at some point. There's filters. See, there's not a real, here we go. You can see here's a list of built-in filters. You can get the absolute value of something. That's really cool. Float, float, lower, we can round, which is awesome. Trim, truncate, safe. We looked at safe already. You notice these are functions. We don't actually put the little function brackets when we use them. We just reference the thing itself. Let's see, format, max, select, truncate, unique. That's a cool one. Min, group by, capitalize, center. Cool. Indent, that's neat. Slice, upper, URL encode. That's kind of interesting. Sort, random, that's a cool one. Int, default, dictionary, join, reject, string. We want to turn something into a string that's maybe a integer or something. In fact, if we want to throw an error, we could probably come down here to our index here, and in this one we could go change this into a string. Then when we try to add 100, this should throw an error, right? If we reload this, I don't know why we would want to do this, but yep, we get an error because now it's a string and you can't concatenate an integer to a string, right? So very fun. I don't know why you would ever want to do that, but in this example, it doesn't quite work, but there are circumstances where you want to change something into an integer or a string. What else we have? Reject word count. That's cool. Last, escape, file size, format, length, replace some, word wrap, title, reverse. Oh, reverse. That's a fun one. Let's see what we can do with that one. So let's come down here real quick and go favorite underscore pizza dot zero, the 0th item, and let's reverse it, right? Save this and reload. Hey, look. Right? What if you did the whole list? The whole Python list itself without selecting an item from the list. So if we save this, let's reload this. List reversed object L creates an object. Interesting. Very neat. So check these out, play around with them a little bit, get to know the Jinja templating language. We're going to use it a lot. We're going to do almost everything with it because we want to use Python on our website. That's the whole purpose of using Flask, getting to also use Python because Python is fantastic. And this is how we're going to do it. So that's all for this video. If you liked it, be sure to smash the like button below, subscribe to the channel, give me a thumbs up for the YouTube algorithm, and check out codemy.com where you can use coupon code YouTube1 to get $30 off membership. Save pages, $49 to access all my courses, over 47 courses, hundreds of videos, and the PDFs of all my best-selling coding books. Join over 100,000 students learning to code just like you. My name is John Elder from codemy.com, and I'll see you in the next video.